Our relationship. It's good, solid. We've been together for 5 years. We talk about the future, about a house, about kids. We're comfortable. Maybe too comfortable sometimes. Routine had started to set in, you know? Not in a bad way, not at all. Just predictable, warm, safe, familiar. And I truly believed that was enough. Then David came back. David was my first love, my college sweetheart. We were together for 3 intense years. The kind of all-consuming, fiery love that burns bright and then inevitably fizzles out, leaving ashes. Our breakup was messy, painful, the kind where you cut all ties just to survive. I hadn't seen or heard from him in almost 8 years. He just vanished from my life, and I rebuilt, with Mark. But then, about 3 months ago, he sent me a message on Instagram. Just a simple, "Hey Sarah, long time no talk. Hope you're doing well." My heart actually jumped into my throat. It was so unexpected. My first instinct was to ignore it, to block him. He was a ghost from a past I'd carefully put away. But something in me, I don't know what it was. Curiosity? Nostalgia? A dangerous whisper of, "What if?" I replied. "Hey David, yeah, it has been a long time. I'm good. How about you?" That was the beginning of the end. Or maybe the beginning of this hell I'm in. We started messaging back and forth, harmless at first, catching up on careers, on life. He told me he'd moved back to the city for work after living abroad for years. And then he asked if I'd want to grab coffee sometime. For old time's sake, he said. I hesitated. I really did. I knew it was a bad idea. Mark and I were happy. We were planning our summer vacation. But that little whisper, that "what if," grew louder. I rationalized it. It's just coffee. He's an old friend. Nothing will happen. Sighs. So I went. I told Mark I was meeting an old college friend, conveniently omitting the ex-boyfriend part. The moment I saw David across the coffee shop, it hit me. He looked older, more refined, but those same eyes, that same smile, it was like time hadn't passed at all. And then he spoke, and that familiar laugh, that specific cadence of his voice, it was intoxicating. We talked for hours, and it wasn't just catching up. It was delving back into our shared history, the inside jokes, the way we used to understand each other without words. He reminded me of a part of myself I hadn't realized I'd missed, a spontaneity, a wildness, a feeling of being completely and utterly seen, down to my soul. Mark loves me, deeply, I know that. But David, he tapped into something primal, something dormant. As I walked away from that coffee shop, my hands were shaking. A mixture of exhilaration and terror. I felt a surge of adrenaline, a forbidden thrill. I felt alive in a way I hadn't in years. And that's when the guilt started, a faint hum beneath the excitement. We met again, and again. Lunches, accidental run-ins, late-night phone calls that turned into whispered conversations when Mark was asleep next to me. Each time I'd come up with an elaborate lie for Mark. A work thing, girls' night, visiting my sister, tea. His lies became easier, flowed smoother, and each lie, each secret conversation amplified the thrill. It was like I was living a double life. One calm, stable, loving with Mark. The other, energetic, a dangerous, electrifying dance with David. The tension was unbearable, in the best and worst ways. Every touch, every lingering look from David sent shivers down my spine. The forbidden nature of it all was like a drug. I knew I was playing with fire, but I couldn't stop. I felt like a different person when I was with David, someone reckless and alive, shedding the good girlfriend persona I wore with Mark. Then came that night. It wasn't planned. We were at a bar, catching up again. The alcohol flowed, the music was loud, and the air between us crackled with unspoken desire. He looked at me, his eyes full of that old intensity, and he reached across the table, his fingers brushing mine. That simple touch ignited something ancient, something undeniable. My heart was pounding so hard, I thought it would burst out of my chest. He asked, "Can we just go somewhere else?" And I said yes. I knew exactly what that meant. And a part of me, and a dark, selfish, longing part, wanted it more than anything. Angry. My mind screamed Mark's name, screamed, "Stop!" But my body was already moving, sighs. It was like I was watching myself from above, helpless to intervene. We went back to his place. The moment the door closed behind us, it was a blur of hands, lips, desperation. Every touch was electric. Every kiss was a release of months of pent-up tension, years of buried feelings. It was raw, passionate, almost violent in its intensity. For those brief moments, I forgot everything. I forgot Mark. I forgot my life. I forgot who I was supposed to be. I was just feeling. It was a wildfire, consuming me completely, an overwhelming rush of pure, unadulterated pleasure, and a dangerous sense of being completely free. I was lost in the moment, in the heat of his skin, the scent of him, the familiarity of his body against mine. It was intoxicating. It was everything I shouldn't want. And then, as quickly as it started, it was over. The silence that followed was deafening. The haze lifted, and the guilt, oh God, the guilt. It slammed into me like a physical blow, knocking the breath out of my lungs. My body was still hummy,
but my mind was screaming, frustrated. What have I done? What have I done? I rushed. I dressed quickly, my hands trembling. I couldn't look at David. The easy familiarity was gone, replaced by a suffocating awkwardness. All that thrill, all that desperate passion had curdled into shame. I made an excuse, any excuse, and practically ran out of his apartment.
The walk home was a nightmare. Every step was heavy with the weight of my secret. I felt dirty, despicable. My own skin felt alien. When I finally slipped into bed next to Mark, who was sound asleep, his steady breathing filling the room, the guilt was a physical weight on my chest, pressing down, making it impossible to breathe. I couldn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling, tears silently streaming down my face. The image of Mark's trusting face burned into my mind. It didn't happen again with David, not physically. The immediate aftermath was so horrifying, so soul-crushing, that I couldn't bring myself to cross that line again. But the secret, the lie, it stayed. It festered. It became a constant companion, a dark shadow lurking at the edge of my vision. Every time Mark looks at me, tells me he loves me, makes a plan for our future, the guilt intensifies. It's a tightening in my stomach, a knot in my throat. Sad. I see the betrayal in my own eyes when I look in the mirror. I'm living a lie, and it's slowly destroying me from the inside out. I haven't been able to eat properly. I barely sleep. My laughter feels fake, my affection forced. Sad. I'm terrified he'll find out, and even more terrified he won't. Sighs. Because I can't carry this anymore. This confession, it's not for forgiveness. Not from you, not from Mark. I don't deserve it. This is me, finally, trying to scrape some honesty back into my life, no matter how painful it is. I know this will hurt him in a way I can't even fathom. It will shatter his trust, shatter our life together, and I deserve every bit of the pain that comes with that. But I can't live with this lie any longer. The person I've become, the person who could do this, I don't recognize her, and I can't stand to be her anymore. So here it is, the truth, the ugly, heartbreaking truth. I cheated, and I have to tell him. This is just the beginning of what I know will be the hardest conversation of my life, and I have no idea what comes next.